returned home after 7 long years. 7 years that felt heavier than the actual time passing on the calendar. When I left this place, I was a different man. I carried a silent heartbreak, a broken engagement, and a confusion that never settled. I told myself that leaving would help me forget, but distance doesn't heal lies. It only preserves them. Now, as my car rolled down the old familiar street, I felt every memory rise like dust after a long storm. The street was still narrow, still lined with uneven trees, and the same old stray dog slept by the corner shop. Nothing had really changed, and yet everything inside me had. My brother, Adil, stood near the gate as if he had been waiting, but his face showed no excitement, only a tight, polite smile. He always had that smile when he didn't know how to feel. His wife, Sana, stood beside him, holding her phone in one hand and adjusting her dupatta with the other, her eyes scanning me from head to toe like I was a guest she hadn't expected. They had invited the whole family for their wedding anniversary dinner. I wasn't supposed to be here, but I came anyway. I stepped out of the car and looked at them. For a moment, none of us said anything. "You actually came," Adil said finally, his voice low. "I said I would," I replied. He nodded, forcing a laugh that didn't belong to him. Sana, on the other hand, didn't even try to pretend. "You should have told us earlier," she said. "We would have arranged things." She didn't need to complete the sentence. I understood the meaning behind her unfinished words. I was an inconvenience. I walked past them, into the same house I grew up in. But stepping inside felt different, heavier, like walking into a room where something important happened and no one wanted to talk about it. Inside, I noticed the old wooden shelf, the one where they used to keep my wedding gift. The gift I had made with my own hands, the one they once praised over and over. It was a simple handmade frame with a picture of all 3 of us together, me, Adil, and Sana, taken back when we still believed we were a close-knit family. I carved the frame myself, polished it myself, and wrote one line on the back: "May we always stand by each other." But the shelf was empty, completely empty. I already knew why. I had heard through distant relatives that they mocked the gift behind my back, calling it cheap and useless. They said it didn't match the standard of their modern home. I didn't react, not yet. I walked deeper inside, and that's when I saw her, Aisha. She stood near the window, holding a glass of water, her fingers trembling slightly. The soft yellow light from the lamp touched her face in a way that made her look almost unreal. The same delicate face I once dreamed of waking up next to every day. 7 years. 7 years without seeing her, hearing her, or even knowing why she left the way she did. Her eyes lifted slowly. When she saw me, her breath caught. Only for a second, but I saw it. The shock, the pain, the memory. "Aisha," I whispered before I could stop myself. She didn't move at first. It felt like time had frozen her in place. Then she blinked, and a faint, nervous smile touched her lips. "You came back," she said softly. Her voice hadn't changed. Still gentle, still the kind of voice that carried truth even when she tried to hide it. "I had to," I replied. "There are things I need answers to." Her fingers tightened on the glass, her eyes lowered, scared almost. "What kind of answers?" she asked. Her voice trembled like she already knew. I wanted to ask everything right there. Why she left, who told her to, what she was so afraid of. But I swallowed it all down. This wasn't the moment. Before I could say another word, loud laughter came from the dining room. A wave of relatives entered, greeting me with hugs and surprise, dragging me into conversations. I responded politely, but my eyes kept drifting back to Aisha. She stood alone, quiet, almost invisible, staring at the floor as if the tiles had stories she didn't want to hear. As more guests arrived, I tried to blend in. I sat for a while, talked to my aunts, and answered the usual questions. Where have you been? How's your job? Why didn't you visit? But my mind stayed stuck on one thing. Why was Aisha here? 7 years ago, she disappeared from my life without a word. She blocked my number, moved out of town, and no one gave me any explanation. One day we were planning our engagement, and the next day she was gone. No fight, no warning, nothing. And now she was here, in my brother's house, acting like she wanted to disappear again. After some time, I excused myself and walked toward the back veranda. I needed air. I needed distance from the noise. I needed to think before my thoughts drowned me. The night was calm. The garden lights cast a warm glow on the grass. The wind moved softly, carrying the faint scent of jasmine, a smell that always reminded me of her. I stood there, staring at the sky, wondering if God was playing a joke on me by placing her in front of me again. Footsteps, soft ones. I turned, and there she was. Aisha stepped out slowly, like she wasn't sure if she was allowed to come near me. She held her shawl tightly around her shoulders, her eyes heavy with something she couldn't hide. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then she finally said, "I didn't think you would ever return." I looked at her, really looked at her. She seemed thinner, more fragile, like she had carried a burden for too long. "I didn't think I would either," I answered. "But life has a strange way of pulling you back to things you tried to forget." She lowered her gaze again. Her silence said more than her words. I took a slow breath. "We never talked about anything," I said. "Not after you left." She closed her eyes briefly. A small tear formed, but she wiped it quickly. "I know," she whispered. "I know I owe you a lot of answers." "Why did you leave?" I asked quietly. "What happened?" She didn't speak. She just stood there, her lips trembling, her eyes glistening like she was fighting a storm inside her. I stepped closer. "Aisha, tell me the truth." She shook her head, backing away slightly. "Please," she said softly, "not here, not in this house." Her eyes flicked toward the door, toward my brother and Sana, and in that quick movement, something inside me shifted. Fear. She looked afraid of them. "Why?" Before I could ask, the veranda door opened. Adil and Sana stepped out. When they saw her standing with me, they stopped. Their faces changed, too fast, too controlled, as if they had walked in on something they didn't want to exist. Sana's eyes hardened. Adil's jaw tightened. Aisha quickly wiped her face, turning away. "Everything okay?" Adil asked, his voice sharp. I nodded slowly. But deep down, I felt something snap into place. There was a secret here, a truth buried under years of silence, and it had something to do with Aisha, with my past, with my brother and his wife. Aisha's voice broke my thoughts. "I'm sorry," she whispered so softly only I could hear. "I never wanted tonight to happen." Her words were filled with guilt, fear, pain. But one thing was clear, she wasn't the one who destroyed our future. Someone else did, someone inside this house. And that night, standing under the warm veranda lights, I silently promised myself, I will find the truth. I will uncover every lie, and I will make them face what they tried to bury 7 years ago, even if it destroyed everything. After that veranda conversation, the rest of the evening became unbearable. The laughter, the chatter, the clinking of cups, all of it felt like it belonged to another world. One where I didn't have a reason to hurt, where memories didn't chase me, where questions weren't left unanswered. I tried to sit with the family, nodding at stories and jokes. I smiled politely when my aunt complimented my career. I laughed lightly at my cousin's stories. But my eyes kept drifting to Aisha. She had moved closer to the dining table, trying to act normal, but the tension around her was visible, like a thin thread ready to snap. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, I excused myself. "I need some air," I said softly. Aisha didn't move immediately, but after a few moments she rose and followed. Her footsteps were cautious, almost silent, but I noticed the subtle tremble in her hands when she held the shawl around her shoulders. We walked out into the garden, where the soft yellow lights hung from the trees. The scent of jasmine and wet earth filled the air. It was calming, but it could not calm my thoughts. 7 years of unanswered questions were pressing on me like a heavy weight. "Why did you leave?" I asked, the words almost escaping as a whisper. Aisha flinched at my tone, the shadow of pain crossing her face. She looked down, twisting her fingers together. I can't say it here," she whispered. "Not in front of them." I noticed the small flicker of fear in her eyes, fear of my brother and his wife. Suddenly, the pieces started to fit together. There was something hidden, something I didn't know. "I need to know, Aisha," I said softly but firmly. 7 years isn't something you just walk away from without a reason. Please, tell me the truth. She swallowed hard. For a long moment she didn't speak. Then she lifted her eyes, wet and shining under the garden lights. It wasn't my choice, she whispered. My heart froze. Not her choice? Then why did she disappear? Who had taken that choice from her? Before I could speak, her eyes flicked to the veranda, where I knew Adil and Sana were watching from a distance. Her lips pressed into a thin line, a quiet warning. Tell me, I urged. I can handle it. I need to know. Her voice cracked as she finally spoke, her words tumbling out like a dam breaking. They told me you didn't want me anymore, that you were planning to marry someone else in the city. They said you only proposed to me out of pity, not love. I felt my stomach drop. My brother and his wife, Adil and Sana. You? I asked, my voice low, sharp. They told you that? Aisha nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. They said you didn't care, that I wasn't worthy of you. I tried to ask you, I tried to call. But they convinced me. I believed them. I left because I thought I was keeping you from a better life. I felt the anger rise, sharp and burning, but I kept it contained. 7 years of absence, stolen from me, stolen from her, stolen by lies. They lied to you, I said, my voice shaking slightly. They lied about me, about us. Aisha looked at me, hope and fear mixing in her expression. I didn't know. I had no idea. I thought I was saving you from a mistake. I wanted to reach out, to pull her into my arms, to let her know that I had never stopped loving her. But the hurt, the years of waiting, the betrayal, it all pressed down. I needed answers first. I needed the truth, fully and completely. Why didn't you come to me sooner? I asked softly. Why now? She looked away, biting her lip. I was scared. They said if I came back they would ruin everything. They made me afraid of you. My blood ran cold, the thought of my own brother, someone I trusted, being capable of such manipulation. It made the air feel heavy. And the wedding gift? I asked, my voice trembling slightly, the frame I made, the one you mocked behind my back. Was that also part of it? Aisha shook her head. No, that was their guilt, not mine. I never laughed at it. I loved it. I loved it. It reminded me of us. Hearing her say that, hearing the truth come out in her voice, my chest ached. 7 years lost, stolen by lies and fear. We walked slowly, letting the silence stretch between us. The garden seemed smaller now, the night darker. Yet, there was an unspoken connection, a fragile bridge rebuilding itself. Do you still care for me? She asked finally, her voice barely above a whisper. I stopped and looked at her. Her eyes searched mine, desperate, afraid, longing, and I realized, despite everything, despite the years and the pain, despite the betrayal of my brother, I still cared. I always had. I never stopped, I said softly. Tears slipped down her cheeks and she quickly wiped them away, ashamed of showing them in front of me. I can't believe you're saying that. Before I could reply, a sudden noise from the veranda startled us. Adil and Sana had stepped outside, pretending to admire the flowers, but I could see the tension in their stance. Their eyes flicked between us, sharp and calculating, as if measuring every move. What are you two doing out here? Sana asked, her voice too controlled, too polite. I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I let the silence speak. Their presence only confirmed my suspicion. They were involved in this somehow. They had manipulated her, convinced her to leave, and perhaps even humiliated her. Adil's jaw tightened. We were just making sure everything's okay, he said, but his words sounded hollow. I stepped closer to Aisha, subtly shielding her from their gaze. It's okay, I said quietly, more to myself than to them. We're talking. Sana's eyes narrowed. Talking about what? About the truth, I replied, my voice firm now, steady. 7 years of lies, 7 years of silence. Tonight it ends. Adil opened his mouth as if to interrupt, but I didn't let him. I could see the panic rising behind his calm exterior. He didn't expect me to come back. He didn't expect me to know. I trusted you, I said quietly, looking straight at him. I trusted you, Adil. And you took her away from me. You lied, you manipulated. You made her think I didn't care when all I ever did was wait. The silence after that was heavy. I could hear my own heartbeat. Aisha stood beside me, trembling but not leaving. She was waiting for me to finish, waiting for me to fight for what we lost. Sana's face turned pale. Her hand trembled slightly as she held her shawl. She had never expected me to confront them. She had never expected the truth to rise up like this. I thought I was protecting you, Adil finally stammered. You thought? I cut him off, my voice sharp but calm. You thought? You ruined everything for me, for her, for us. And now you tell me it was a thought? 7 years of my life gone because of your thoughts? He swallowed hard. I could see him trying to gather the right words, but there were none. None that could undo what he had done. Aisha's hand brushed mine, tentative but steady. Her touch was like fire and ice all at once, warmth for the years we lost, cold for the betrayal we both suffered. I didn't know, she whispered. I didn't understand until now. I'm so sorry. Her words tore at me. 7 years of pain, gone in one sentence. But her apology wasn't for me. It was for herself, for being trapped in lies and fear, for being forced to leave the man she loved. I looked at her, really looked, and in that moment, I understood something. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It wasn't about anger or punishment. It was about truth, justice, recognition of the betrayal we endured. Tonight, I said softly, we will see the truth come out. They may have controlled your life for 7 years, but they won't control it anymore. Not tonight. Aisha nodded, tears glimmering in her eyes. For the first time in years, I saw hope flicker in her face. Not hope for the past, not hope for them, but hope for us. And at that moment I realized, the real battle hadn't begun yet. The lies, the betrayal, the manipulation, it was all still there, waiting, lurking, but now so was the truth. I stepped back slightly, letting the silence settle like a curtain. The night was heavy, full of secrets, and the air seemed thick with anticipation. Every step, every word, every glance would matter tonight. The truth was coming, and when it came, nothing, not Adil, not Sana, not anyone, would escape it. 7 years of pain had led to this moment, and nothing would ever be the same again. The family had returned inside after dinner. The chatter resumed, but there was a weight in the room now. A quiet tension that everyone felt, even if they tried to ignore it. I stayed close to Aisha, her hand brushing mine once or twice, a small gesture of reassurance. It was time. I glanced around, watching my brother and his wife. Adil sat stiffly in his chair, a fake calm that only highlighted his guilt. Sana, on the other hand, was smiling, but it was a tight, strained smile. She was used to controlling every situation, but tonight I knew she was scared. You should all listen, I said quietly but firmly, enough for everyone to hear. There are things that need to be said. The room went silent. Even the youngest cousins stopped whispering. My voice seemed to pull the air out of the room. Aunt Fatima, the elderly woman who usually stayed in the corner, watching quietly, rose from her chair. Her eyes, sharp and steady, fixed on my brother and his wife. It's time someone speaks the truth, she said. Her voice trembled slightly, but it carried authority. Too long, we've all stayed silent, letting lies and manipulation hurt people who didn't deserve it. A collective murmur ran through the room. My mother gasped softly. My father looked away, but I ignored them. I only cared about the 2 people I had waited 7 years to confront, Adil and Sana. Aisha's hand squeezed mine. I felt her tremble, but she stayed strong, her presence a steady anchor. They think they can hide what they did, Aunt Fatima continued, pointing a trembling finger at Adil and Sana. They destroyed love. They manipulated a young girl into leaving the man she loved, the man in this room, and they did it all behind a smile. All because they wanted control. And now, everyone needs to know. The words hung in the room, a weight pressing down, suffocating and unstoppable. Adil opened his mouth. No, I said firmly. Let her speak. Let the truth come out first. Sana's smile faltered. Her hand gripped her shawl tighter. Aunt Fatima turned fully to Aisha, her old eyes softening. You don't need to be afraid anymore. Speak. Aisha swallowed hard, tears forming, but she drew a deep breath and began. I didn't leave him because I wanted to, she said, her voice trembling but growing stronger. I left because I was scared. Scared of what my life would become. I was told things about him. Lies. Terrible lies. They told me he didn't love me. They told me I would ruin his life. They told me I was unworthy of him. The room went quiet. Everyone listened. Some faces were shocked, some were angry. But the worst was the look on Adil and Sana's faces. Pale, guilty, helpless. They lied, she continued. My own decision was stolen from me. I believed them because I trusted them, and I thought I was doing the right thing by leaving him. But all I did was break us apart. I stepped closer to her, my voice barely above a whisper. 7 years of my life, Aisha. 7 years I waited for someone who was never gone from my heart, and they stole those years from us. She nodded, tears rolling down her cheeks. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Aunt Fatima's eyes were now blazing. And what about the wedding gift? She asked, pointing at the empty shelf. The one that meant love and honesty? You mocked it, didn't you? You laughed at it behind his back? Adil's jaw tightened. We didn't mean, we thought it was just a childish thing. Enough. Aunt Fatima's voice rose. Your thoughts, your lies, your manipulation, they destroyed something beautiful. And now the truth is coming, and everyone knows. That is the only justice left for the pain you caused. Sana's hands shook. Her carefully maintained mask of control was cracking. We didn't know, she tried to say, but her voice faltered. Don't, I said. My voice was calm, steady, but it carried weight. Don't make excuses. You lied. You manipulated. You controlled her life and took away 7 years of mine. And tonight, you will face the consequences, not with violence, not with revenge that stains hands, but with the truth. You will feel what it's like to be powerless and watched while everyone sees your guilt. I could feel the tension crackle in the air. The family was watching now. Every cousin, aunt, uncle, everyone understood the depth of betrayal, and the look on Adil's face, a mixture of fear, shame, and regret, made the truth even sharper. Aisha's voice returned steady now. I want him to know. I never stopped loving him. I left because I was forced to, because I was scared. But my heart, it never left him. I took her hand in mine. The warmth of her touch grounded me. I never left you either, I said softly. I waited, I hoped, and now, we have the chance to reclaim what they tried to steal. Adil stood up, pale, trembling. I thought I was protecting him. You thought. I interrupted sharply. You thought. You destroyed a life with your thoughts. 7 years, gone. And you call that thinking? Sana tried to speak, but her words stuck in her throat. The shame in the room was suffocating. The people who were supposed to respect them now only saw the truth. They were powerless, exposed. My aunt leaned forward, her finger still pointed. Tonight, everyone knows, your lies are exposed, and the only revenge left is their knowledge of your guilt. Aisha's eyes met mine. I never wanted to hurt you, she whispered. I know, I said, and I never hated you. But I hated the silence, the years you lost, the life they tried to control. That is the pain that belongs to them now. Adil's face turned red. I didn't think it would. You didn't think? I asked again. The worst part is not the lies, not the manipulation. The worst part is knowing that you tried to control love. And now everyone sees it. Everyone knows. That is the revenge. Aunt Fatima's voice was low, firm, and final. You've lost respect. You've lost honor. And nothing you say now can bring it back. Sana's hands dropped. She was silent, realizing that the family had judged her silently all this time. The years of pretending, the manipulation, the lies, they were all visible now. I stepped closer to Aisha. She stood trembling but strong. "It's over," I said softly. "We survived their lies. We survived their manipulation. And now, we can finally live for us." She nodded. 7 years lost. But at least we have now. I turned to the family. Everyone knows the truth. They tried to break us. But the truth is stronger than any lie. There was silence for a few moments. Then, slowly, murmurs began. Whispers of sympathy, anger, and relief. People came closer to Aisha and me. Their eyes filled with understanding. The shift was palpable. The weight of truth had fallen on Adil and Sana. I looked back at my brother. The look in his eyes was the final revenge I had sought. Not violence, not anger, but regret, the kind that sits in the chest and refuses to leave. Sana's face turned pale. She looked like a mask had been torn away. The mask of control, the mask of respect, the mask she had worn for years. And I felt it. The power of truth, the quiet, unstoppable justice that had nothing to do with revenge in the usual sense. It was far stronger than any action I could take with my own hands. I turned to Aisha. "They wanted to take you away from me. They wanted to destroy us. But they didn't succeed, not fully. And now, they know their failure." Her hand squeezed mine. "I'm glad the truth came out," she said softly. I was so afraid for so long, but now, I feel free." I smiled quietly without words. 7 years of waiting, 7 years of pain, and finally, vindication, not in the form of punishment, but in the power of exposure. Adil and Sana stayed silent. Their shame was visible. They couldn't speak. Their manipulation, their lies, their control, all for nothing. The room felt different now, lighter, clearer, honest. And finally, I whispered to Aisha, "Sometimes the truth doesn't burn you. It burns the people who tried to hide it." Her tears fell softly onto her cheeks, but they were not tears of pain. They were tears of release. And for the first time in 7 years, I felt whole. Not because the past was forgiven, not because the years were returned, but because the truth had finally set us free. The final look on Adil's face, a mixture of regret, shame, and silent acknowledgement, was all the revenge I needed. No words, no violence, just the weight of their own guilt, now exposed to everyone they had tried to deceive. And that night, in the quiet aftermath of a family dinner gone wrong, I realized something I had always known deep down. The most powerful revenge isn't in hurting others. It's in revealing the truth. Final line, impactful. 7 years of lies couldn't break us. But they finally broke themselves.